so happy you're with me. It's Heidi Dulavan, international cultural consultant and etiquette expert. And I'm just so happy you're here because I've been dying to make this video with you. Today we're talking about dining etiquette 101. You already know the importance of etiquette and table manners because you're tuning in. But by the end of this video, you are going to be able to accept a dinner invitation from the most informal to the most formal. And you will dine with ease and with confidence because we're going to give you not only technical skills today, we're going to give you something extra because you deserve it. You deserve to know some origin stories. Yeah, a little bit of fun history about where all these rules and where all these things came from when it comes to table manners, because it will help you appreciate everything more and it will help you understand why we do what we do, and you're more likely to remember it and to practice it. So let's get started. All right. First things first, you have been invited to someone's home for dinner. In this case, it's my house. Come on in, pull up a seat. We are going to have a nice dinner together and talk about the table. We're going to talk about proper utensil and glassware use, and then how to wrap up the evening. So let's get started. First things first, you've been invited to a dinner, my house, and you responded very promptly. Thank you very much. And you've shown up on time, and you've brought a small gift for me as a little token of your appreciation. Thank you very much. So now I am the host, and we would approach the table or wherever we're going to sit and have dinner. In my case, I've set the dining room table for you, and I would nod and say, okay, please sit here, sit here. I've let each guest know where to sit, or I would have a place card for them and I would say, please take a seat. And that's when you take a seat. Actually, it could be the same in restaurant settings as well, because what we're learning today, the table manners applies if you are in someone's home, in a restaurant, a state dinner, a royal banquet, or a backyard barbecue. Table manners are all the same. Okay, so let's just start. We have taken our seat, and then I suggest let's just take a deep breath for just a moment and let's appreciate the table and the table setting. You know, the host has gone to a lot of trouble to bring out their silver, their china, or their best every day, or maybe it's paper plates. It doesn't matter. Table manners are all the same. So in my case, I have brought out some family things because I want to impress you and put my best foot forward for you. But we're going to go over a few things to give you that origin story that you're going to wow and amaze your friends with. So let's just start with the table. Have we always had tables per se? Well, yes and no. You know, the Romans had all kinds of intricate rules about all sorts of etiquette, one of them dining, and they would dine at the highest circles lying on their sides, propped up by an elbow, so the other hand could eat from a very small little tiny table with their other hand. Well, after the demise of the Roman Empire, etiquette was really lost for centuries and centuries, until the very early Middle Ages. And people thought, you know, we'd like to get together again. We've kind of got this big room here in our castle. Let's get some people together to dine. And they say, okay, that sounds great. What are we going to do for a table? Well, let's bring out a couple of trestles, you know, a couple of things that are like bases. Bring out a couple of trestles and set some boards on them so we can, you've got it, set the table. Okay, so they would set the table, and it wasn't too long before we thought, not really liking this, looking at the boards. So tablecloths, let's get some tablecloths, cover up these boards a little bit. Yeah, that's a good thing. So that's where we got that. And so then we evolved, and then tables became a piece of furniture. But that took a long time. That took a long time. So in the early Middle Ages, how would they set a table? Like this? No, there would be a maybe a somewhat of a bowl type structure, maybe carved out of wood, or there might be a very stale piece of bread that was quite large called a trencher, and that would be your plate. It wasn't until the Italian Renaissance when bowls, they said, we are over these bowls and these stale pieces of bread. Let's make this a little better. Let's flatten this out and create nice plates so we can appreciate the plate. Okay. So, let's just talk about some of the other things. How about our glassware? I always tip when I set a table, I set the water glass apart just a little bit because my glasses today are all stemmed. I like stemmed glasses. But to know which one is the water, it should have water in it already when you sit down, but sometimes it doesn't. So you know which one is the water. Okay, and then we have these other glasses. So why is it in this shape? Why is a wine glass in this shape? Where do you think this came from? Well, we think it's a nod to a chalice from the church. Because, we've had glass for millennia. But did you know that, again, in the early 11th, 12th centuries, the best glass blowers in the world were in Venice? Yes, they were by far better than anyone in the world. People sought out this beautiful glass from Venice. But it takes a lot of heat, right, to make glass? So all those furnaces, and at the time Venice was built, all the structures were built of wood. So all the authorities said, we have got to keep this as our thing. We are the best glass blowers. The best glass in the world comes from here. But we don't want to burn down Venice. Hey, we've got that island out in the lagoon called Murano. Let's move all the glass makers. They had a guild by then. Let's move them all to the island of Murano, and then we're going to keep them there because we don't want their secrets to get out. We have got to be the best glass blowers in the world. So that's what they did. So on this island of Murano, for centuries, these master glass blowers made the most gorgeous glasses, wine glasses, all sorts of glasses. And they were stuck. They were stuck on this island because if they left, their secret of how they made this beautiful glass could get out. Well, they did eventually get out, but for centuries, these people were just there. It's hot. They're making these gorgeous glasses, and they would make wine glasses, the Murano glass blowers, so intricate. I've seen these gorgeous pictures. They're so intricate and so beautiful and delicate, purposely delicate. So only the most refined person could even hold and drink from one of these glasses. So as you learn, we do hold a wine glass if it's stemmed from the stem. And people always say, yes, it's because you don't want to heat up the wine. It's at a perfect temperature. Your hand will warm the wine. True. Also, you don't want fingerprints around the bowl, unattractive. But it's a nod to those Murano glass makers. Yes, it was so delicate. It shows our refinement. We can navigate a beautiful glass. Okay, fun story. Now we're continuing on some origin stories. We have all these utensils. I have forks on my left-hand side. I have knives and a spoon on my right-hand side. And that makes sense because when I go to cut something, when I pick up my knife and fork, these are the hands. The fork's in the left hand, the knife is in the right hand. So it makes sense that they are forks on the left, knives and spoons on the right. On my table setting, I have a plate in the middle. I have a smaller plate here with a very small little knife. This is for butter, a little butter knife. And at the very top of the plate is a spoon and a fork. That is common in the United States, in some parts of Europe, but not everywhere. It is for dessert. Now, at the very highest, if you're dining at a royal banquet, you probably will not see that. But Americans, we like to do that. Okay, so we have these utensils. Sounds good. We know a little bit about our Murano glass makers. We have a plate, but what about the utensils? What's the story on them? Well, you know, spoons. Spoons have been around in some way, shape, or form forever. Forever. Maybe we makeshift things out of even plants for spoons. But knives, we've been wearing and using knives for centuries and centuries and centuries. And, for years, people carried their knife with them. You would go to dinner because, right, we set the table. Okay, we've been invited there. And we would go, and what would we do? Well, we'd take our knife with us. Yes, it would be probably the only utensil on the table, and we brought our own. It's BYO knife, bring your own knife. And the wealthiest people had these beautifully embroidered sheaths because everyone wore their belt tied around their waist. And those knives were pretty sharp, let me tell you. So a lot of things kind of broke out in some of these dinners. There was a lot of politics, a lot of power plays, and a lot of poisoning going on. We'll talk about when we touch on toasting. So you had to be a little careful there. But you would come and you would bring your knife. And throughout the ages, there was a lot of bloodshed at some of these dinners. So by the time we are now at the court of Louis the XIV, the Sun King, we're in Versailles, and I'm a big fan of his etiquette rules because he said, hey everybody, enough's enough with these sharp knives already. I am ruling every knife now be rounded off. So look at your knives and think, okay, this is a rounded off dinner knife thanks to Louis the XIV, and we still use it today. Origin, it has an origin story. You're going to wow your friends with that one. Okay, we're looking over here. These forks are on the left-hand side. They're at home in our left hand. Makes sense. Okay, did you know the fork was the last utensil to the place setting? It's an upstart, that fork. But it's been around for centuries and centuries. Do you know they've used them in the Middle East for well over 1,000 years? In the early 11th century, a Byzantine princess married the Doge of Venice. And a caravan came with her dowry of very exotic, expensive things. She arrives in Venice for her wedding banquet. And part of the beautiful things she brought with her from the Middle East was a chest, a case of golden forks. Well, she sets her wedding banquet and has the forks placed at every place setting, which was really blew everybody's minds. And they sit down and they look at this thing because what did we have? We had our knife. I've got this beautiful thing, embroidered sheath on my way. No. This princess shows up from the Middle East with this newfangled thing. Well, the clergy went mad. They said, who the heck is she and what the heck is this newfangled thing? And the clergy said, I think it's the devil's pitchfork. This is terrible. We will eat with what God gave us, our hands. So this poor princess, she was sick. She had some kind of a wasting disease. It was a long time ago. They're not for sure. She died shortly after there, and they said, put those forks away. Well, it wasn't for several centuries, 300, 400, 500, 600 years later, during the Italian Renaissance, they're being refined, right? They have plates now. We have this gorgeous, thanks to the Murano Glassblowers, these beautiful wine glasses. And they said, we are tired of eating this pasta with our hands. Where are those forks? Let's get those forks back out. So the forks came back out. They did not get to France for 100 years later. by way of Catherine de Medici. She took them with her when she married what became the King of France. Took another good 100 years before they found their way to our shores here in the United States. So in widespread usage, I should say, widespread usage. There were, of course, people that were using them, the most refined people, but for everybody, for like me sitting at my table inviting me, by golly, I have got forks, knives, spoons. We've got the whole thing here today for you. What we haven't talked about is the napkin. Okay, trick question. As soon as you sit down, should you put your napkin on your lap? Well, it depends. It depends on, do you have a host or not? In our case, I'm saying, yes, I'll be your host tonight. So I would sit, once I sit down, once the host sits down, the host takes their napkin and puts it on their lap. That signals the meal's begun. Everyone else then follows suit, puts the napkin on their lap. Okay. If there is no host, yes, as soon as you sit down, put the napkin on your lap. All right, so let's talk about napkins a little bit. More origin stories. I'm telling you, your friends are going to be wowed with all this knowledge you have. Okay, so napkins, did we always have them? Well, you know, the Spartans. Yeah, you remember those guys. The Spartans sort of had one of the earliest napkins, if you will. It was a piece of bread. At the very end of their meal, what would they do? Well, they'd clean that knife they had, right? They'd wipe their knife off on this piece of bread, roll it around their hands, clean their hands, because, you know, this was the utensils God gave them. And then they would toss them on the floor to the dogs because everyone brought their dogs to dinner with them. Okay, well, you know, that was fine and well for a while. And then we had tablecloths and people started using the edge of the tablecloth to wipe their hands, and that wasn't going over so well. So yes, we started having napkins because remember, the Romans actually had napkins called mappa, and the mappas were like bath sheets, the size of them, because remember, they ate lying down and they were handy because at the end of the night, anything left over, tie it up in their nappa, their mappa, their napkin, throw it over their shoulder and take it home. The earliest doggy bags. Okay, but now we are in the Middle Ages. Let's talk about these napkins because we're tired of using the tablecloth and we're past the bread thing. So the napkins were large, very large then. Not quite the bath sheets of the Romans, but they were pretty large. And you brought your own napkin. You brought your own knife. You brought your own napkin to these banquets. Okay, so, but you were so wealthy that you had the most beautiful, beautiful material, the beautiful linens, and your napkin was so big because the servants would come around to each diner and they would tie the napkin behind their neck like so, and your napkin was so big that the servants could make ends meet. And that's where that saying comes from. You could make ends meet on your napkin. Okay, well, you know, they were pretty large. And, you know, by the time Louis XIV, we got to Versailles and he said, okay, enough with this rounded, you know, please, rounded knives. He said, these napkins, they are too doggone big. And I am going to start a whole new thing. We're going to have smaller napkins, dinner size, manageable napkins. And I am starting this. When I sit down, I'm the host, I put my napkin on my lap, then everyone else will follow suit. So we still do that today, right? The host rules I just told you about, that came from Louis XIV. Okay, so enough of the origin stories already. Let's just get going. Let's set this table. Okay, our table is set. So I told you knives, spoons, right-hand side, forks, left-hand side. Bread, top of the forks, all the glassware. Thank you, Murano Glassblowers. On the right-hand side above the knives and the spoons. Now, if you were in France, they'd be in the middle. Please be aware, this can be a little different depending on where you go in the world. This is generally a Western table setting. Okay, Heidi, you're saying, that's all fine and good, and I'm remembering the origin stories. That's cool, they're neat, but how am I going to remember all this? I have a trick for you. You will never, ever forget it after my trick. Okay, here's my trick. Bavarian Motor Works. Okay, BMW, Heidi, you say? Yes, BMW. Imagine the logo, BMW. Bread on the left, meal in the middle, wine or water, BMW. I don't care if it's a round table, a rectangular table, square table, U-shaped table, any table, BMW. You will never, ever wonder about which is my bread, which is my water ever again. Again, you're wowing and amazing your friends. You are a star. Okay, so table setting. Here's what I tell everybody. Imagine this table setting is a clean zone. This is a clean zone because we're eating. So nothing touches the clean zone, right? You did not bring your cell phone. You need reading glasses? No, they are not sitting on the table. Absolutely not. Get rid of those. They are not worthy of being in the clean zone. Okay, remember the clean zone. It's going to come in handy. Okay, so now we're sitting here. We've got all of this going, and now we do know that by our table setting, we know what to expect. A soup. This is a cream soup spoon. I know you can get in the weeds with these soup spoons. It's crazy. But what would happen would someone would bring out a bowl, which should be on a plate, or some sort of a saucer, and then we would have our soup. And here is how, now the posh boarding schools in Europe, they spend weeks teaching the students how to properly eat soup. So we only have a few minutes, so I'll give you the highlights. You enter the soup, you hold your soup spoon like this. Your thumb, your index finger, supported by your other 3 fingers. You enter the soup spoon, the soup spoon enters the soup from the middle of the bowl, and the bowl of the spoon is away from you. You enter away, and here's the tip nobody tells you. Just put a very small amount on the spoon. That's the tip. Otherwise, it's dripping all over. Small amounts. So you enter the bowl of the soup from the middle, the spoon bowl away from you, just a small amount, right? Right? Okay. And we always have good posture at the table. Mind your body language, and you bring the soup to you. Bring the food to you, not you to the food. No, do not do this. Very rude. Away, all the way up, and bring it all the way to your mouth, back straight, and then you sip from the side. You turn the bowl of the spoon to your mouth, and you just sip from the side, because you only put a little bit on there, right? That's the tip. And then you do it again. Okay, away, up, side, never in from the middle. When you're finished, the spoon goes on the plate or the saucer next to the soup, the bowl, never in the bowl. Then that will be taken away. So the nice thing about this, don't ever get too worried about these table settings, because it's really quite simple. You work from the outside in. That's really what you need to know. There are rare exceptions. Message me if you'd like me to tell you about those, but generally outside in. Okay, so that was on the far outside. We've had the soup, that's gone. They've taken those away, and now we're looking at, oh, okay, we're gonna have a salad. I have a salad fork, and the salad knife is just a bit smaller than the dinner knife. Okay, so then a salad is brought out. And then, okay, so now we know too, how do we hold our knife and our fork? Now we really need to know this, because, gosh, rubber's hitting the road here. Okay, so let me just show you. I have a trick for this. Another trick. Oh, you're leaving with so many tricks. Okay, so you put the utensil, the knife, in the palm of your hand, and your index finger, the top of your finger should hit the knife where the blade hits the handle. Put it in your palm. Hold it, secure it with your thumb, wrap your other fingers around it, and then rotate. Same thing with the fork. Forks, they're in the palm of your hand, index finger at where the tines or the blade meets the handle, secure it with your thumb, wrap your other fingers around the handle, index finger moves to the top and rotate. That's it. Okay, so again, in the palms, thumbs, secure it, index fingers at the top, your other 3 fingers around to hold, rotate. And now this is the proper way. You do this, you will dine with the queen with ease. She is going to be blown away by how you hold your utensils so properly. Okay, so now we're going to have a salad. So how do we use our utensils? Okay, well, we use them like this. We're holding them properly. So I am in the United States. So I'm going to show you how the United States uses something called the Zig Zag method. And in Europe and many other parts of the world, and it's fine to use this in America as well, is called the Continental Method. Let's start with the Zig Zag. Okay, so the Zig Zag method is knives, forks, we've got that. Something is here to cut. We cut one bite at a time. Please don't let anyone tell you that it's different. It is one bite at a time. Cut one bite at a time. Then the knife rests on the edge of the plate. This is a clean zone. To put the handle on the table in the clean zone, no, that's a no-no. That's a do not do. It's a clean zone. It's been in my hand. No, no, no. So the blade, it rests on the side of the plate with the blade facing me because, you know all about this. All these crazy things that happened at these banquets with those sharp knives. No, if you put your knife blade out towards another diner, that was a signal. That meant we are going to get into it later. It's going to be bloody and messy. It's a sign of aggression. So unless you have a message to send to somebody, blade facing you. Okay, so I cut one piece and then that's zig. Now I'm going to zag. I move the fork from my left hand to my right hand, take the piece and eat it. Then I put the fork back to my left hand, pick the knife up, cut one more piece, knife down, fork switches, back. That's the zigzag method. It's a lot of work, a lot of work. Okay, here is the Continental Method, which is acceptable any place. Like I said, also in the United States. Okay, so here's how we do this. Still hold the knife and fork exactly the same way. Fork left hand, knife right hand. I cut, and I can either hold the knife or I can rest it. You know which way the blade goes. And the fork goes right to my mouth, staying in my left hand. So again, the Continental Method, you cut one bite, either hold it, rest it into your mouth. So there's kind of a cool story. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's a good story. Maybe urban legend, but there's a story that there was an American spy during World War II. And he was very successful as a spy. And he was getting all kinds of really good secret to help the Americans. And one day they were dining. And he went like this during this dinner, set it down, and he zigzagged. And they said, "Ha, an American." And he was found out by the zigzag method. So how you eat can say a lot about you. Okay, so now we know how to hold things. We know that there are two methods, the zigzag or the continental. And there's a lot of work going in with that zigzag. So you might need to take a little break. So we can send a message without as much of this. So much of etiquette is speaking without speaking. So we put our knife and fork, we cross them in an upside down V. That means we are resting. And when we rest in the United States and the UK, our hands go on our laps. Elbows are never welcome on the table. There have been books written in the early 1500s for children, no elbows on the table. No elbows on the table. It's disrespectful. Please, it says I'm bored stiff. I want out of here. No, sit up straight. Be respectful. So, hands on our laps now, just so you know when you travel, because I'm sure you're a big traveler. We are in Europe, on the continent. And as little children, they are taught that they have little notches in their wrists. And the little notches are there so their wrists can rest on the very edge of the table. And they do that because that goes back to, guess what? Our banquets in the Middle Ages when there was a lot of bloodshed going on. So we could see their hands, so we know there's no weapons. So just know if you see someone doing this, they probably raised in Europe or raised with European parents. So, okay, so now I'm resting. Okay, so now we're going to just keep eating, but this is not the end of the meal, but let's just say if it were the end of the meal, there is etiquette for that. The knife and fork, let's say I'm going to be finished with my salad. The knife and fork go diagonally. They're together diagonally. Imagine the plate as the face of a clock. About 20 minutes past 10 o'clock. That is, I am finished. If you're at a very lovely restaurant where the staff is very well trained, they will never ever say to you, are you finished with that? If your knife and fork are in the resting position, no, they know. It says, I'm resting. They will not say, are you finished with that? If it's in the finished position, they will simply take your plate away. You are speaking this unspoken language of etiquette, and that's kind of fun. Okay, so back to the salad. There is some etiquette about salad that you should know. You are not to cut lettuce with a knife. Oh, Heidi, you say, well, why do I have a knife? Well, because you fold the lettuce. Now, this is at the highest circles. Okay, I know, that's a lot of work. But okay, you can fold the lettuce, put it on your fork, but you could have something like other things in the salad, maybe a cherry tomato. Okay, here's a little tip. Before you try to cut that cherry tomato, pierce it with the tines of the fork and it won't splatter. Okay, so we've had and why is that, Heidi? You're saying, okay, Heidi, there's so many rules. Why can I not cut lettuce? Well, it has its roots. Its origin story is that the metal on the knives clashed with the dressing and with the lemons and with the other things that the dressing was made of, and it made a terrible bitter taste. So it had to do with taste. But okay, so that is our story. So then our salad plate and our salad utensils would be taken away. And now we're here for the main course. And it's the same thing. The main course, follow the host's lead. The host will set the pace of the meal. Please don't eat too fast, don't eat too slow. Keep pace with the host. Do everything the host does, take the host's lead, eat at the host pace, you're going to be just fine. So now we are here and this exact same thing. We pick up our knife and fork. We know to rotate. We do this utensil roll, I call it. And then we will be eating either continental or zigging and zagging. And we're going to take a little break because I think I'll have a little glass of wine or a little sip of wine. And wine would be poured throughout the evening. And so you know which to go, and you would just, again, you know how to hold the wine glass. Okay, so don't drink too much. If you do not drink at all, your host should already be aware of that. Otherwise, just inform them, no, I'm sorry, no apologies necessary at all. Just say, no, thank you, and the host will usually find a reasonable substitute for you. If you are drinking, you think, I think I've had enough wine, please do not do this. Do not put your hand over the glass. That is considered impolite. No, what you would do is just say to the person serving the wine, no, thank you. And it is also considered impolite to ever pour wine for yourself. You would never do that unless the host asks you to. Then it's different. And you would never really ask for another glass of wine. That's not sending a very good message. So just let the host take take the lead. They'll pour all the wine that they want to pour. When you've had enough, just simply say, no more, thank you. Okay, so we're going to go through all that. And you know, some just basic do's and don'ts. You know that you don't start eating until everyone is served, unless the host says, please eat when you're served, please start, eat while it's hot. Then you've been given permission. So rule number 1, wait till everyone's served unless you've been given permission. Otherwise, watch your body language. It's better for your digestion. Sit up straight. Always chew with your mouth shut. Never speak with your mouth full. And please don't do this where you talk, you're still chewing, your mouth is full, but you hold your hand in front of your mouth. And I guess you think we can't see you, but we can see you. So please do not do that. No tech at the table, we know that. So I think you have all of these things. You never, of course, gesture with your knife. You would never say, and furthermore, you know, that's considered quite rude to gesture with your utensil. Please don't do that. And for goodness gracious sakes, no toothpicks, please. Don't bring toothpicks to the table. I know you wouldn't do that anyway, but you know, just a reminder. Okay, so we have been eating this, and we've been given some lovely bread with our lovely main course. Let's talk about bread. Bread is a big subject. Let's just say we had a roll and some bread was already on a roll was already on our little bread plate, and a pat of butter. Actually, I have my sister's butter molds, and I get a bang out of molding butter. So you can just take softened butter and put it in a lot of those fun molds, and it's great. It's great fun. So, you know, if you're gonna, next time you're here, I'm gonna make really neat butter molds for you. And here's the tip with bread. Bread has a neat origin story, the etiquette of eating bread as well. Bread, you do not cut bread. Bread, you pull with your hands, you break the bread and you pull one piece at a time. If you would like butter, you take a little piece of butter on your bread, one piece at a time, and then you eat it with your hands. You do not cut bread, and that is because it has biblical roots. You would break bread with Christ. And you know the saying, well, let's break bread. It's a communal, a warm feeling. So you break bread today, biblical roots. So there are so many neat stories and reasons why we do what we do, and we can appreciate everything. So let's just say we have had this lovely meal and everything gets taken away and we're getting ready for dessert. And now we are thinking, okay, so we have a fork and a spoon at the top. How do we do this? Some places, as I said earlier, utensils will be brought in with dessert. In this case, the dessert utensils are already there, and so now we need to draw them down. So we merely take the handles and we draw them down to where they live on the place setting. Forks live on the left, spoons live on the right, and they are in the exact place. And so now we've brought something out and you're saying, Heidi, why do I need a fork and a spoon? Well, you really don't. A fork would just be fine, depending on what they're serving. Let's say they're serving a nice cake. Well, you could hold the cake and cut a little bit with the spoon, put the spoon down on the plate, and then change hands and eat with the hand, with the fork. So you could, or you could go continental. So you could do either way. It gets a little complicated with dessert. I think it's a little overkill, the fork and the spoon, depending on what you're serving, but it's what we're doing. And so maybe with dessert, we're going to have a champagne toast. I do a whole seminar on toasting, and it's so much fun in the history with that. But suffice it to say, the host always gives the first toast. And after the host gives a toast, then you can ask permission to give toast. So when they give a toast and we are saying, cheers, here's, the host will say, thank you all for joining me. We've shared such friendship over the years. I'm delighted we're with each other tonight. And here's for our future, for our lots of great health and happiness in our futures together. Cheers. So Toasting Etiquette 101. Raise your glass, never ever to get attention, bang on a glass. It's so disrespectful. Think of those Murano glass blowers on that island for centuries. It couldn't get off. It's disrespectful. Plus, you should be able to command a room. You should be able to, excuse me, everyone, get everyone's attention. You can do that. You've got gravitas. So you'd make your toast, but if someone's, and then you would have a drink. When it is to the general group, you can have a drink. But if someone specifically toasts you, you cannot drink to yourself. That's considered rude. And you could always return a toast. So toasting is fun. And so now people say, but what about clinking glasses, Heidi? Do we do that? Yes or no? Well, yes and no. At the highest circles, clinking glasses, no, you get very close, but you don't quite clink them. We as general people, we like to clink glasses. We like to hear the sound. It's nice, right? And at weddings, the sound is said to be wedding bells. In the Middle Ages, they had tankards in those early days, those big cuppers. They would slam those things together and cheers. And because a little bit of your wine went into mine, a little mine went into yours, because if you're trying to poison me, we're both going down together. So they would really clink them. But generally speaking, it was just a nice little clink, because gosh, it got to be where there was some beautiful, in the 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, some beautiful glass nails being made in England, and in particular Ireland. And the Irish glass, which is this, is so lovely and beautiful. They actually went for bell tones. They went for specific tones, notes, so they could hear that when they toasted. So just know, informally, clink glasses, great. Very formal situations, just get close. Okay, so we've had this lovely evening together. We've been served. It was marvelous. And just so you know, if you're dining and someone is not serving you everything and you need to pass things, just know, please pass things to the right. And if anyone would ever ask for salt and pepper, they always go together. They are a couple. They stay together. Even if you only ask for the salt, pass them both. So I think we've covered everything Dining 101. I would love to go over really in the weeds things, because I have so many more stories I want to share with you. There are so many more fun stories to give you ideas even much further into depth of where these rules, where these things came from. And it's really great fun. You are going to be the hit of the next party, I'm telling you. Okay, so it's the end of the evening. Our host has signaled that I think the meal is over, and we know that because our host will then put their napkin not folded. Don't refold your napkin. That means you're indicating it should be reused, and that's not proper. Just nicely place your napkin, once the host does, on the table, to the left of where your plate was. And that says, okay, I think the evening is over. And then once your host stands, then you stand. You thank everyone, lovely to meet everyone, and then you thank your host. Don't linger, it's time to go. And then you go home, and then please remember this, promptly write a thank you note. They went to a lot of trouble and expense to put on this beautiful dinner and to include you, so be sure to thank them for it. Okay, everybody, what do you think? What'd you learn? I'm dying to hear. Let me know. Drop me a comment. I've got to tell you this. I have lost a little sleep about this video because I was so excited to do this with you. I want to hear your thoughts. I can go so much more into the weeds. You just let me know if you want to. Okay, everybody, please, best wishes for your next dinner. You honestly are going to be the hit guest. You're going to be asked back. You are A-list. I mean, you are something else now. Congratulations on all your new skills and all your new tips, tricks, and you know why. You know the reason why. So thank you. I've really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this. Thank you for letting me share some knowledge with you. Please, if you'd be so kind, please, I'd appreciate it if you would like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and truly, please drop me a comment. What else can we talk about? Thank you. Thank you. Be safe. And as I always say, please, everyone, be kind. Thank you.